Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. So today we're going to talk to all you Barclays card holders. If you've checked your mail recently, you'll recognize that your Barclays card is now owned by Mercury. They've sold your debt and you're now in the new hands of a new handler. But did you know how they did it? Did you realize that they cost you money? Stay tuned, we'll fill you in on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. Come on in all you Barclays and now Mercury card holders, this episode's for you. So hopefully by now you've recognized that you do not have a Barclays card anymore. Okay? A lot of those accounts have been sold to Mercury. Now you got a nice new fancy card, nice new fancy benefits. But did you see what really happened during this transition? Did you notice what we did? Let's find out. But before we go into it, I do want to kind of rehash one of the adages that we have with Delta Credit Restoration. And it's very apropos in this. And that adage is that your credit is not a score. Your credit is a series of behaviors that lead to a score. Truth be told, in your course of credit restoration, if you don't focus at all on any of the derogatory items on your credit report and only focus on the positive financial behaviors moving forward, by and large, your credit report's gonna fix itself. This has to do with statutes of limitations and other things. Just having the right behaviors. And the number one behavior that you can have that will build, maintain, establish credit is being cognizant. Being aware of what's going on around you. Having a budget in place so that you can see where your money is going. Reading the bank statements every month. Reading the credit card statements every month. Reading the terms and agreement that you sign as you go into these financial relationships and maintaining those records so that you can reference them later. Because if you don't know the rules of the game, you're gonna lose it. And you're gonna lose money. Just like you did with that Barclays and Mercury merger. So we have a client and we're helping them fix their credit. They're gonna be buying a home here shortly. And they happen to have a Barclays card. And part of their plan, part of their credit restoration plan was to pay down this active credit card with Barclays, which then converted into Mercury. And we discovered, because we're reading the statements, that the payment wasn't made. So what happens? Well, that prompts a phone call. Mercury, what's up? Right? So in the course of this conversation, we found out that the payment information that the client had set up to automatically pay their credit card payment every month, well, that banking information of theirs didn't transfer over with the merger. So of course, what does this eventually lead to? This leads to late payments, which leads to fees, which leads to potential increases in rate, which leads to 30-day lates on the credit report. It becomes a bit problematic. Now, not that this was the intention of Barclays or Mercury, but sometimes banks, they kind of act like insurance companies. They play probabilities, right? They put a whole new spin to the term passive income. Your passiveness leads to their profitability. If you aren't aware of what's going on around you, and you're passive about how you handle your money, they're going to get you. Now, again, not that this was Barclays' intention, because I am sure, or Mercury, but I am sure if you miss your last payment because of the whole transition and you call them, I am sure their customer service is going to want to resolve that issue amicably for you, provided that you call and are proactive promptly. But the problem is that we did a little bit more digging because the situation didn't quite end there, right? Because we found out that during that transition between Barclays and Mercury, nobody made a payment for 1 month. They let it go. Everybody's off the hook for the month, right? You're like, okay, well, that's cool. More money in my pocket. I ain't got to worry about that. Do I? Well, you might. You see, because during that whole merger chaos bit, where they didn't have the ability to take your payment, what they didn't lose in that whole transaction is their ability to charge you interest. So during that 60-day period or so of your billing cycles, you had no principal reduction payment. So now we've got interest on interest, and it's all being applied to your principal balance. And if you read your terms and agreement, remember your payment requirement every month is only 1 to 2% of the balance plus what interest is due for that cycle. But there's 2 cycles there. So if you make the minimum payment, which in probability a lot of people do, that extra month worth of interest takes more than 1 month to pay off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, depending on your balance. You see, our client had a very hefty balance, $5,500. So that was $150 worth of interest that was tacked onto his principal balance without any principal reduction payment. This should be a little upsetting. So we encourage you, give Mercury a call. Let them understand that you are a conscientious consumer and you recognize the fact that your payment wasn't taken like it should have been because of the merger. Completely understandable. But you also notice that you got charged an extra month worth of interest and very politely request to have that interest refunded. And while you're on the phone, by the way, let them know this is how you make a choice. This is how you make a change. Delta. I hope this information was helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Also, I'd love to hear about the success you had with your conversation with Mercury. Put that below so we can see it. Also, subscribe if you haven't. Every Thursday at noon, we're going to come out with more information just like this. Get it right out of the gate. But most importantly, you got to share this information. There are thousands of others just like you, just like my client, who's just about to pay that passive income. Help them make the choice. Help them make the change. Delta.